So these are the game changers, these are the innovators, these are the inventors that are going to make the world a better place for us in the future.
This is a shocking revelation, a royal power struggle, and a bold move that no one saw coming. Prince William has spoken, and the entire world is watching. For years, the monarchy has been a symbol of tradition, an institution built on rules, hierarchy, and an unshakable foundation of power. But behind the grandeur, behind the palace walls, a silent war has been brewing. A war between legacy and ambition. A war that has now erupted into the public eye. Prince William, the future King of England, has made a move so decisive, so unprecedented, that it threatens to alter the royal family's course forever. His target? Queen Camilla. She was never meant to be here, not in this position, not wearing the crown. Camilla, the woman once vilified for her role in the collapse of Charles and Diana's marriage, fought for years to win over the British public. Slowly, she transformed herself from the mistress in the shadows to the queen consort at the king's side. But to those who have watched closely, her ascent was never simply about love or duty, it was about power. And now she may have gone too far. Prince William has always been bound by responsibility, trained from birth to uphold the monarchy's values. Yet, beneath the surface, resentment simmered. His mother, Diana, was not just a victim of scandal, she was a casualty of a system that protected its own at all costs. And standing at the center of it all was Camilla. To the world, her marriage to Charles was the resolution of a long and painful love story. But to William, it was a reminder of betrayal, of a woman who disrupted his childhood and reshaped the royal family's future in ways he never accepted. But William endured. He tolerated her presence, her growing influence over his father, even as whispers of discontent echoed through the palace halls. Yet something changed. Camilla began taking steps that could no longer be ignored. Subtle, calculated moves to solidify her power, not just as queen, but as a force within the monarchy itself. She was no longer content being Charles's wife. She wanted her legacy, and that meant restructuring the family, securing her own lineage's place in the royal fold. At first, it was just speculation, a small push here, a favor there. But then came the Christmas walk incident, a moment so revealing that it shattered the illusion of harmony. Camilla's attempt to introduce her son Tom Parker Bowles into the royal fold was seen as a direct challenge to centuries of tradition. For William, this was not just an overstep, it was a threat, a sign that Camilla wasn't merely blending into the monarchy, but reshaping it for her gain. And then, the final blow, a discovery so alarming, so fundamentally dangerous to the very essence of the royal family, that William could no longer stay silent. What he uncovered has not been fully revealed to the public, but those close to the palace say it was the moment everything changed, the moment he knew he had to act. And so, he did. His announcement was swift, decisive, and impossible to ignore. He moved to strip Camilla's growing influence, blocking her efforts to integrate her family into the monarchy's future. His message was clear. The royal family was not a prize to be claimed, not a dynasty to be restructured for personal gain. Camilla's ambitions had reached their limit, and William was drawing the line. The world is watching, the monarchy stands divided, and for the first time in years the question is being whispered aloud: has Queen Camilla overplayed her hand? And more importantly, is this just the beginning of the end? To understand why Prince William took such a drastic step, we need to go back to the beginning, where the battle for the monarchy truly started. Prince William never truly accepted Camilla as his stepmother, but why now, after years of tolerating her, did he decide to act? The answer lies in a tension that has simmered beneath the surface for decades, a battle of loyalty, legacy, and control, a boy who lost his mother to scandal, and a woman who stood at the heart of it. To the public, the royal family has always projected an image of unity, but behind closed doors, the rift between William and Camilla has been undeniable. Their relationship was never one of warmth or acceptance, it was a delicate dance of formality and civility, masking deep-seated resentment. From the moment Camilla stepped into the royal spotlight, William saw her for what she was, a disruption to the world he once knew. Camilla's rise to queen consort was no accident. For years, she was Charles's forbidden love, the woman who lingered in the shadows while Diana captured the world's adoration. The world saw Diana as the innocent princess betrayed by a husband who had never truly loved her. And William? He saw a mother in pain, a father who had made his choice, and a woman whose presence was a constant reminder of everything that had been taken from them. Diana, the divorce, the media frenzy, and the humiliation all led to the ultimate tragedy, Diana's untimely death. And though no one could say Camilla was responsible, she was forever tied to the chain of events that ended with a fatal crash in Paris. William never spoke publicly about his true feelings toward Camilla, but actions speak louder than words. Unlike Harry, who grew closer to her over time, William maintained his distance. When Charles married Camilla, William was there, but not out of affection, out of duty. He understood the game of the monarchy and the necessity of maintaining the facade, but make no mistake, his silence was not acceptance. It was restraint, and restraint can only last for so long. Camilla knew she was never meant to be queen. Even the palace had once stated that if Charles ever became king, she would take the title of princess consort. But over time, something changed. Slowly, carefully, she repositioned herself, transforming public perception, winning over allies and, most importantly, deepening her hold over Charles. It was subtle at first, small changes, a softening of the public narrative. Then it became undeniable. She was no longer just Charles's wife. She was his most trusted advisor, his closest confidant. She had his ear in a way that no one else did, and she was using it. William watched as Camilla's influence grew, as she positioned herself not just as Charles's partner, but as a key figure in the monarchy's future. And that's when the battle lines were drawn. This was no longer just about personal resentment. It was about the survival of the Windsor legacy. William understood that the monarchy was built on rules, on traditions that spanned generations. And Camilla? She was rewriting those rules in real time. And so, after years of watching from the sidelines, William made his move, not just for himself, but for the future of the crown. He saw what was coming. He saw the shifts happening within the palace, the slow but deliberate restructuring of power, and he refused to let it continue. Camilla had spent years reshaping her image, but William never forgot who she truly was, and now he was ready to remind the world. To understand William's breaking point, we need to look at Camilla's ambitious schemes that shook the royal family. For years, Camilla worked in the shadows, changing the narrative and securing her place. But was it all just part of a bigger plan? The woman who once lived in exile from public favor had done the impossible. She had gone from the most despised figure in the royal family to its most powerful woman. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't luck. It was strategy. A decades-long campaign to rewrite history, to shift public opinion, to reframe herself, not as the woman who tore apart a marriage, but as the devoted partner of a future king. Camilla's rise wasn't about love. It was about survival, and ultimately, power. She knew from the beginning that she would never be accepted, not by the public, not by the monarchy, not even by her stepchildren. She was the woman who had stood in the way of a fairy tale, the woman whose presence cast a shadow over Princess Diana even after her death. But Camilla was patient. She understood that time could be her greatest weapon. So she waited, she watched, and when the moment came, she acted. Winning over Queen Elizabeth was her first great triumph. The Queen had long resisted Camilla's presence, seeing her as an unwelcome force in the royal family. The idea of Charles marrying her was unthinkable, a stain on the dignity of the crown. But Camilla knew that the Queen's resistance wouldn't last forever. She played the long game, remaining out of sight, letting Charles fight her battles, never pushing too hard, too fast. And then, piece by piece, the barriers began to crumble. Time wore down the opposition. Slowly, the Queen softened. A carefully orchestrated PR campaign reshaped Camilla's image, reintroducing her not as the woman who had broken up a marriage, but as the steady and supportive partner who had always been there. She wasn't Diana's rival anymore. She was Charles's rock. And the world began to believe it. The woman once ridiculed and despised was now being embraced. A royal wedding, once thought impossible, became a reality. And, with that marriage, Camilla secured something far more valuable than a title: legitimacy. But she wasn't done yet. Marrying Charles gave her access, but access was not enough. She wanted permanence, she wanted power, and so the next phase of her plan began integrating her family into the royal circle, a quiet push, subtle at first. Her children appear at events, and her relatives are positioned within royal circles. It was small, insignificant to most, but for those watching closely, the pattern was clear. Camilla wasn't just securing her future, she was ensuring her family's presence in the monarchy for generations to come. And that's where she made her mistake. Because of all her careful planning, all her patience, she underestimated one thing: Prince William. He had tolerated her presence for years and accepted what he could not change. But when he saw what she was doing, when he realized she was turning the monarchy into something it was never meant to be, he refused to stay silent. The cracks in her carefully built image started to show when she made one bold move that William refused to ignore. Camilla's attempt to reshape royal traditions was met with fierce opposition. William and Anne didn't just disagree, they took action. Christmas at Sandringham has always been more than just a holiday gathering. It is a symbol of the monarchy's enduring traditions, a moment when the royal family presents a united front before the world. Every year, the British public watches as members of the royal household step out of the grand estate, exchanging pleasantries with the people, a carefully orchestrated event designed to reinforce the image of stability and continuity. But this time, something was different. This time, Camilla had a plan that, if successful, could shift the very balance of power within the royal family, and Prince William knew it. For decades, the Christmas walk had been reserved for the blood royals who directly descended from the Windsor lineage. It was a sacred tradition, an unspoken rule that even the most modern interpretations of the monarchy never dared to change. But Camilla, emboldened by her rise to queen consort, saw an opportunity. She decided that this was the moment to publicly introduce her son, Tom Parker Bowles, into the royal fold. To many, it might have seemed like a harmless gesture after all. Tom had always been present in the background of his mother's life, but to those who understood the inner workings of the monarchy, the implications were clear. This was not just a walk, it was a statement, a declaration that her family, despite having no blood ties to the monarchy, belonged among Britain's most powerful figures. The move was audacious, but Camilla had underestimated one thing: Prince William. The heir to the throne, the man who had spent his entire life preparing to protect the crown, saw what she was doing, and he refused to let it happen. As soon as he learned of Camilla's plan, he took action. There would be no negotiation, no quiet acceptance. William put his foot down. Tom Parker Bowles would not be walking alongside the royal family. The monarchy was not a prize to be shared, not a dynasty to be diluted by those who had no rightful claim to it. And William wasn't the only one who felt this way. Princess Anne, the unwavering guardian of royal traditions, immediately sided with William. To her, the very idea of including Camilla's children in a royal event of this magnitude was unacceptable. She had seen what happened when the monarchy wavered, when it allowed sentimentality to overshadow centuries of structure and discipline. The royal family was built on lineage, not marriage, and Camilla, no matter how much power she had gained, could not change that. Together, William and Anne stood firm. The decision was final. Tom Parker Bowles would not be included in the Christmas walk. And for Camilla, this was more than just a public snub, it was a message. Her ambitions had been exposed. Her attempt to weave her family into the monarchy had been met with resistance. William had drawn the line, and for the first time, Camilla realized she might not have as much control as she thought. But this was just the beginning. William's next move was even more shocking. For years, William watched from the sidelines, but when his father's health declined, he knew he had to act before it was too late. The monarchy had always been a delicate balance of power, but behind the closed doors of Buckingham Palace, that balance was shifting. King Charles, once a commanding figure, had become vulnerable. His declining health meant that royal responsibilities had to be delegated, decisions had to be made, and influence had to be exercised. And Camilla knew it. She had spent decades working her way into the heart of the monarchy, reshaping her public image, securing her place at Charles's side. But now, with the king weakened, she saw an opportunity, not just to stand beside him, but to rule through him. William saw it happening in real time. Camilla was no longer simply the queen consort, she was asserting her power in ways the public could not see. Key allies, individuals loyal to her, began appearing in important roles, strategically positioned within royal operations. The advisors closest to Charles were no longer neutral figures, but people carefully placed by Camilla, voices that echoed her ambitions. Subtle at first, but unmistakable, decisions were being influenced, traditions questioned, and slowly, the monarchy was bending not towards its future king, but towards the woman who had never been meant to wear the crown. For William, this was not just about personal resentment, it was about something far greater. The monarchy wasn't just a family institution, it was Britain's symbol of stability, a lineage that spanned centuries, upheld by rules that protected its integrity. And now, that integrity was under threat. The unspoken battle between William and Camilla was no longer just a matter of family discord, it was a fight for the future of the crown itself. Inside the palace, tension brewed. Meetings behind closed doors turned into silent power struggles. William's concerns were dismissed, and his authority was undercut. Camilla, leveraging her influence over Charles, ensured that she remained at the center of decision-making. And with every passing day, William saw the monarchy being reshaped into something unrecognizable. He knew that if he didn't act, everything his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, had upheld would begin to crumble. The battle wasn't fought in public. It was waged in whispers, in carefully worded statements, in private moments where William attempted to reason with his father, only to find that the man he once looked up to was slipping further under Camilla's grasp. It was a silent war, but William understood that silence could no longer be an option. And then came the final straw, the moment that forced William to make his game-changing announcement. With one stroke, William sent a clear message. Camilla's influence would no longer go unchecked. The monarchy had been built on order, tradition, and control, but under Camilla's quiet maneuvering, that foundation had begun to shift. Power was no longer where it was meant to be. It was being redirected, restructured, and placed in the hands of those who had no rightful claim to it. Camilla had done what no outsider had ever dared. She had embedded her people into the monarchy's inner workings, shaping decisions from behind the throne. But William had seen enough, and now he was taking it all back. One by one, Camilla's allies were removed. Those carefully positioned figures strategically placed within royal offices, financial committees, and advisory roles were dismissed without hesitation. Titles that had been granted under Charles's reign at Camilla's urging were revoked. Camilla's family, her closest confidants, those she had elevated into positions of influence, were stripped of their standing within the royal system. This wasn't just a restructuring, it was a purge. A deliberate effort to erase the traces of Camilla's growing grip on the monarchy. And William didn't stop there. He turned his attention to royal finances, an area where Camilla had slowly but effectively gained influence. Wealth, property, and estates tied to the royal family had become a point of contention, with whispers that Camilla had been positioning her relatives within the financial framework of the monarchy. William made it clear every resource, every asset connected to the crown was to be secured under his control. No outsiders, no exceptions. This wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming the monarchy from those who sought to reshape it for their gain. The message was undeniable. This was a direct challenge, a public declaration that the future of the monarchy belonged to its rightful heirs, not to those who had married into it. The boldness of William's actions sent shockwaves through the public. Supporters rallied behind him, seeing his move as a necessary correction, a stand for tradition, for stability, for the protection of Britain's royal legacy. But not everyone agreed. Critics questioned whether William was being driven by personal resentment rather than duty. Was this about safeguarding the crown or about settling an old grudge? And then there was Camilla, the woman who had spent decades proving herself, working her way from scandal to redemption, was now facing her greatest challenge yet. Had she been caught off guard? Or had she anticipated this moment, prepared for it, waiting for her chance to strike back? But behind the scenes, the royal battle wasn't over yet. Camilla had one last desperate move up her sleeve. The monarchy stands at a crossroads. Will King Charles step down? Will Camilla accept her fate? Or will William reshape the future of Britain forever? The dust has yet to settle, but one thing is clear. Prince William's bold move has shattered the illusion of unity within the royal family. The public is no longer asking if change is coming. They're asking when, and with each passing day the answer seems to inch closer. William's decision to strip Camilla's influence was more than just a power play. It was a statement, a declaration that the monarchy would no longer be dictated by personal ambition, but by the values and traditions it was built upon. But as one chapter closes, another begins. And now the most pressing question remains, who truly holds the power now? All eyes turn to King Charles. His silence has been deafening. A king caught between his son and his wife, forced to choose between legacy and loyalty. For years, Charles has stood by Camilla, fighting for her acceptance and ensuring she was granted the title of Queen. But William's move has thrown everything into question. If Charles sides with his son, it would mean acknowledging that Camilla had overstepped, that her influence had grown too great. But if he stands by his wife, he risks alienating the very institution he was meant to protect. And more dangerously, he risks alienating the future of the monarchy itself, his heir. Meanwhile, the public has made their voices heard. The tide is shifting, support for William has surged, and whispers of a new era are growing louder. The people have long viewed him as the rightful face of modern royalty, the one destined to restore the monarchy's integrity. And now, his decisive actions have only solidified that belief. Some even question whether the time has come for Charles to step aside, for the old guard to make way for the new. Could William be the king the people truly want? And if so, could Charles be forced to abdicate? Yet, Camilla is not one to retreat. She has fought too long, endured too much to simply fade into the background now. She still holds influence over Charles, and her allies are not willing to let William dismantle everything she has built without a fight. She has one last chance to either reclaim her standing or lose it all. The battle for Britain's future is far from over. The monarchy stands divided, a powerful heir has stepped forward, and a stepmother refuses to back down. One thing is certain, Prince William's bold decision has changed the royal family forever. As the dust settles, one question remains. Was this the beginning of the end for Queen Camilla? For years, she maneuvered through the royal corridors, shaping her legacy and carefully reconstructing an image that had once been tainted by scandal. She had done the impossible, transforming herself from the woman the public despised into the Queen Consort of England. But now, that carefully built image has begun to crack. William saw through her ambitions, and when the moment came, he acted. He stripped away her influence, dismantled her carefully positioned alliances, and sent a message not just to Camilla but to the entire world. The monarchy would not be rewritten for her benefit, and the people took notice. What was once an uneasy tolerance of Camilla has shifted into full support for William's leadership. The public has always been loyal to tradition, to the legacy of Queen Elizabeth, and most of all to Diana. Camilla's quiet rise had always been met with skepticism, but now, after William's bold stand, many are beginning to question whether she was ever truly meant to be queen. Had she simply been tolerated for Charles's sake? Had she gone too far in her pursuit of influence? The tide is turning, and Camilla finds herself at a dangerous crossroads. For Charles, the dilemma is unavoidable. His son has secured his position as the rightful protector of the monarchy, and the public is rallying behind him. Camilla's reign as queen consort may continue in name, but her power has been shattered. The final verdict is clear: William has won this round. But is this truly the end of Camilla's ambitions? Or is she simply waiting for the next opportunity to reclaim control? What happens next for the royal family is uncertain. The monarchy has always survived the scandal, but this is something different. A power shift has begun, and the future of the British crown is now more unpredictable than ever. One thing, however, is undeniable. Prince William's announcement has changed history. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.